Vaimunti, can you check whether we are live now? Hello, Bojo, Namaste, Sastriyakal, Namaskar. Welcome to the panel on Discover Your Spiritual Insight through the teachings of Upanishads and Om, hosted by India-Canada Consortium in collaboration with SW. Finding a spiritual purpose is not so much about finding the meaning of life, but rather about becoming your best self as you move through life. You can find your higher purpose in life through many different pathways, including meditation and prayer, personal reflection, and practicing spiritual wellness. Seeking a spiritual purpose in its own reward. Spiritual people exhibit many positive traits. To find spirituality within us, we need to understand our own self in a finer way, which is self-realizing. Self-realization is the truth of who we are, what we are, the realization that we are not the physical body, the physical form that we believe ourselves to be, but the energy within that physical form that gives us life. Most of us are unable to realize this because of the illusionary world we live in, because of our mind, which makes us believe we are the ego, and because of the senses that make us crave for sensual pleasures. Our mind limits us. It restricts our spiritual awareness. It is unable to focus and contemplate on the energy that lies beyond this physical form. For reasons unknown to us, we are ignorant of the truth. The moment we are able to realize that it's the energy which is beyond this physical form, we realize that we are not the body, we are not the mind, but we are indeed the life energy. The life energy is immortal. It never dies. The body dies and disintegrates. The life energy, the Atma, the Chi, the Prana, the soul, or the spirit can merge with the universal soul, the Paramatma, on self-realization. Self-realization further leads to God realization. Spiritual awakening is the path to eternal happiness, peace, and bliss, leading us to our ultimate destination, moksha, liberation, nirvana, or enlightenment. Let me introduce what is SWA. We have collaborated with SWA today. SWA, or Self-Wellness Awareness, is a mindful non-dual practice organization who aims to give ideas on how mindfully one could get a non-dual approach to the lifestyle and obtain a perfect living and realize the true self beyond body-mind complex and discover the ultimate peace within. It offers opportunities and online courses to learn and practice non-dual lifestyle through the teachings of ancient scriptures like Vedanta, Gita, and other texts, learning and meditating on mantras for healing from Hindu practice. Our Vice President, Haimanti Bhattacharya, she's here today, is the founder of SWA. She will tell you more about it when she talks today. Saying this, I welcome the eminent speakers of the day. Our MC today is Divyasri Chakrabarti. Divyasri is a psychotherapist in training. She has completed her master's in clinical psychology and currently pursuing her master's in counseling psychology in Canada. She's passionate in working with victims of violence, abuse, and trauma. She has an ardent thirst for research, especially in mental health of BIPOC communities. So it's your stage, Divyasri. Thank you so much for emceeing today.
Thank you so much, Gypsy. I have been honored to be the host and MC of this panel today. And to be very honest, I'm quite intimidated with the numerous, many scholars we have with us today. So without further ado, we are going to start our program today. So first we have Dr. Gautam Ghosh is an internationally renowned author, lawyer, human rights activist, and the president of the SARC Human Rights India chapter. He has been designated as Asia's think tank. He focuses on human rights. He's also passionately working on issues such as anti-racism, women's rights, farm laws, civil liberties, and police reform. Since 1995, he has worked as an educator and a lawyer. He shared his knowledge by speaking at various prestigious Indian institutions such as the Bureau of Police Research and Development, Jadavpur University's Department of Business Management, and the Haldia College of Law at the University of Kalyani. He serves as a strategic advisor to a number of international organizations. So with further ado, I would like Dr. Ghosh I would invite you, sir, over the stage.
Namaskar, this is Dr. Gautam Ghosh from India. At the outset, I thank Team India Canada Consortium for organizing such an educative and highly productive panel discussion with such eminent personalities. I thank Swamiji, Mataji, Dr. Nikki Gurinder, and others who will be illuminating this program with the profound knowledge. Well, now, coming to the topic of discussion, I find that today there is an urgent need for discovering one's own self, for one's own development. And Upanishad is one of the best and the oldest philosophical sources for self-realization, self-development, and discovery of spiritual insight. The Upanishads are referred to as Vedanta, the end of the Vedas. They are regarded as the complete sacred revelations received by the sages at some point of time in the ancient past. There are 251 Upanishads, 108 of which are printed. Well, as I could concise, I understand that there are 5 core Upanishad philosophies. Samsara, which means reincarnation. Karma, which means action, work or deed. It also refers to spiritual doctrine of cause and effect. Dharma, which is the ultimate universal law. Moksha, liberation from suffering. Atma, which means the true self beyond the identity of the ego. Now, what is spirituality? Spirituality is spirituality is consistently defined by scientists as the search for or communion with the sacred. Spirituality is distinguished from all other things like humanism, values, morals, and mental health. There is also a subtle difference between religion and spirituality. Religion is the search for significance in ways related to the sacred, whereas spirituality is the search for the sacred. In Upanishad, we come across a term known as yogamaya or illusion. It means if we think we know everything, well, it's our illusion. Upanishad thus advises us to probe deep within us and learn more, feel more, understand more. Certain things are subconsciously located in our inner mind, somewhere deeper on an intuitive level. But on the surface, we may not know it or realize it. To achieve fulfillment of life, we should strive to know it, probe deeper and deeper to feel the light of wisdom. And that's what Upanishad guides us. Well, I have to keep my speech short as time is limited, and I must give some more time to the luminaries who will be speaking after me. Thank you so much. Thank you, Team India Consortium. Namaskar from India, Dr. Gautam Ghosh.
Thank you, Dr. Ghosh. Thank you for being patient with us, and thank you for your valuable speech. It was very insightful. Now, we are honored to welcome 105 Arikya Punit Chaitanya Mataji on our panel. She will share her valuable wisdom on the aspect of Om from Jain practice in daily life. Arikya Shri Punit Chaitanya Mati Mataji was born on 12 December 1958 in Dahod, Gujarat. She received the initiation from Acharya Shri Sambhav Sagarji Maharaj.
ओंकारिन्दु संयुक्तं नित्यं ध्यायन्ति योगिनः कामदं मोक्षदं चैव ओंकाराय नमो नमः ओंकाराय नमो नमः। पंच परमेष्ठी भगवान की जय। समेश कशित क्षेत्र की जय। आचार्य श्री शंभो सारथी गुरुदेव की जय। चलते हैं आज जैन धर्म के हिसाब से। जैन धर्म में ओम का महत्व, जैन शासन की अमूल्य निधि और सारे मंत्रों का सार है तो ओम है, क्योंकि ओम में पंच परमेष्ठी घर भी थे, इसलिए इसका महिमा जैन दर्शन में बहुत विशेष बताया है। पंच परमेष्ठी वाचक अरिहंत सिद्ध आचार्य उपाध्याय और सर्वसाधु, ये पंच परमेष्ठी ओम में गर्भित हैं। अरिहंत का अ माने अ, सिद्ध अशरीरी होते हैं इसलिए अ, आचार्य का आ, उपाध्याय का ओ एवं मुनि साधु का म। अ प्लस आ प्लस उ प्लस म सब संधि मिलाने से ओम बन जाता है। ये ओम में पंच परमेष्ठी गर्भित हैं। ये पंच परमेष्ठी को जैन दर्शन में नमोकार महामंत्र कहते हैं। इस नमोकार महामंत्र से 84 लाख मंत्रों का निर्माण हुआ है और इस 84 लाख मंत्रों का सार है ओम बीजाक्षर। ओम की महिमा अवर्णनीय है। ओम से केवल अंतर्मलिनता दूर नहीं होती है, परंतु अंदर की बुद्धि का एक कोश जागृत हो जाता है। इसलिए ओम अवर्णनीय अद्भुत है। जैन शासन में ये ओम में पंच परमेष्ठी गर्भित करके इसका विशेष महत्व बताया है। अरिहंत परमेष्ठी के मुखार बिंद से पहले यदि वाणी खिलती है तो ओम के उच्चारण से खिलती है। इस ओम के उच्चारण में 18 शुद्र भाषा और 700 शुद्र महाभाषा को गर्भित करके ये ओम का उच्चारण होता है। इसलिए भी जैन दर्शन में ओम की महिमा बताई है और ओम में विशेष 5 ज्ञान भी गर्भित बताया है। जैन दर्शन में मति ज्ञान, श्रुति ज्ञान, अवधि ज्ञान, मन परिज्ञान, केवल ज्ञान बताया है। पहला है मति ज्ञान, उसको बोलते हैं अभिनिबोध ज्ञान। इस अभिनिबोध ज्ञान का पहला अक्षर है अ। दूसरा ज्ञान है श्रुति ज्ञान। श्रुति ज्ञान माने आगम। इस आगम का पहला अक्षर है आ। आ हुआ। तीसरा ज्ञान है अवधि ज्ञान। अवधि ज्ञान का पहला अक्षर है अ। तो अ, आ और अ फिर मिला। और चौथा ज्ञान है मन परिज्ञान। मन परिज्ञान को अंतःकरण ज्ञान भी कहते हैं। अंतःकरण का पहला अक्षर है अ। इस प्रकार अ प्लस अ मिलकर के आ बन गया। इन संधि को जोड़ते हैं तो आ बन गया। उसके बाद में चौथा ज्ञान, पांचवा ज्ञान है केवल ज्ञान। केवल ज्ञान माने उत्कृष्ट ज्ञान, इसलिए उत्कृष्ट ज्ञान का उ ले लिया तो इस आ के साथ में प्लस उ जोड़ देंगे तो ओ हो जाएगा। और केवल ज्ञान होने के बाद में उस आत्मा को मोक्ष मिल जाता है। उस मोक्ष शब्द का पहला अक्षर है म। इस ओ के साथ में म जोड़ने से ओम बन जाता है। इसलिए जैन दर्शन में इस ओम में 5 ज्ञान भी गर्भित कर दिया है। ओम में आचार्य कहते हैं 3 लोक भी गर्भित हो जाता है। अधोलोक का अ, ऊर्ध्वलोक का उ और मध्य लोक का म। आ उ म मिलकर के ओम बन जाता है। इसलिए 3 लोक का भी प्रतीक बताया है। और जैन दर्शन में देव शास्त्र गुरु को नमन भी हो जाता है ओम का उच्चारण करने से। कहते हैं देव माने आप्त, आप्त का आ हो गया, और शास्त्र माने आगम, आ हो गया, और उसके बाद में साधु मुनि म हो गया। ये आ उ और म मिलकर के ओम उच्चारण होते हैं, तो देव शास्त्र गुरु को नमन हो जाता है। और भी जैन दर्शन में बताया है कि ये ओम में रत्नत्रय गर्भित हो जाता है। सम्यक दर्शन, सम्यक ज्ञान, सम्यक चारित्र। सम्यक दर्शन, दर्शन का दूसरा नाम है अवलोकन, अवलोकन का अ। और दूसरा है सम्यक ज्ञान, ज्ञान माने उद्योग, उद्योग का पहला अक्षर है उ। और उसके बाद में सम्यक चारित्र, चारित्र का पालन करने वाले होते हैं मुनि, उस मुनि का पहला अक्षर है म। इस प्रकार अ प्लस उ प्लस म बन करके संधि को जोड़ देते हैं तो ओम बन जाता है। इसलिए ओम अवर्णनीय अद्भुत है, क्योंकि 3 लोक भी इसका प्रतीक है, देव शास्त्र गुरु का नमन का भी प्रतीक है, और 5 ज्ञान का भी प्रतीक है। इसको विशेष प्राण मंत्र भी, प्राण बीज मंत्र भी कहा है, क्योंकि हम इस ओम का 27 श्वासोश्वास पूर्वक हम यदि उसका उच्चारण करते हैं, नाभि प्रदेश से लेकर मस्तक प्रदेश और मस्तक प्रदेश से लेकर नाभि प्रदेश तक ओम का उच्चारण यदि नाद से करते हैं, तो एक विशेष अपने अंतरंग की चेतना जागृत होती है और सारे कर्मों को नष्ट होकर के मोक्ष प्राप्त हो जाता है। इसलिए प्राण मंत्र भी कहा है, और इस मंत्र को प्रणव भी कहते हैं। और ये ओमकार सारे धर्मों में मानते हैं। ये ओमकार कोई भी धार्मिक क्रिया प्रारंभ करते हैं तो ओम के सिवाय प्रारंभ नहीं होता है। इसलिए ओमकार के बिना कोई भी धार्मिक अनुष्ठान संपन्न नहीं होता है, प्रारंभ नहीं होता है। ये ओमकार का शब्द का प्रारंभ तो है परंतु अंत नहीं है, ऐसी विशेषता ओमकार में बताई है। इसलिए आचार्य कहते हैं पूरे ब्रह्मांड में एक शब्द है तो ओम है, सृष्टि का विकास करने वाला शब्द है तो ओम है, सृष्टि में व्यक्ति को शांति सुख देने वाला शब्द है तो ओम है। इसलिए व्यक्ति को प्रातः काल उठ करके ये ओम का उच्चारण करना चाहिए। ओम का उच्चारण करने से शरीर, मस्तिष्क और मन में एक विशेष आह्लाद होता है और अपनी आसपास की ऊर्जा एक पवित्र हो जाती है। इसलिए ओम का विशेष महत्व बताया है। ओम में 5 परमेष्टि गर्भित कर दिया है, उसका 5 वर्ण के रूप से ओमकार का यदि ध्यान करते हैं तो विशेष हमें फलदायी प्राप्त होता है। अर्यंत का एक श्वेत वर्ण ओम में गर्भित करके, अर्यंत को गर्भित करके यदि हृदय की कर्णिका में उस श्वेत वर्ण का ओम को यदि हम ध्यान करते हैं, उस श्वेत वर्ण के ओम का ध्यान करते हुए अर्यंत परमेश्वर को गर्भित करके यदि हम ध्यान करते हैं तो धीरे धीरे हमारे आत्मा के ऊपर पड़ा हुआ कर्म का क्षय हो जाता है। और दूसरा परमेष्टि है सिद्ध परमेष्टि। सिद्ध परमेष्टि का लाल वर्ण बताया है। उस लाल वर्ण को हमारे हृदय की कर्णिका पर लाल वर्ण का ओम का ध्यान करते हुए उस ओम में सिद्ध परमेश्वर को गर्भित करते हुए यदि हम ध्यान करते हैं तो विशेष हमें अनेक क्रिया करने की और विशेष कार्य करने की क्षमता हमारे अंदर प्राप्त होती है। और तीसरे परमेष्टि आचार्य। आचार्य परमेष्टि का रंग बताया है पीला। हृदय कर्णिका पर वो पीला रंग का ओम का ध्यान करते हुए यदि हम विशेष चिंतन करते हैं तो हमें इस आचार्य परमेष्टि का ओम के रूप में ध्यान करने से, पीला वर्ण का ध्यान करने से हमारे ज्ञान का क्षेत्रक्षम बढ़ता रहता है, बुद्धि का विकास होता है। और चौथे परमेष्टि है उपाध्याय परमेष्टि। उपाध्याय परमेष्टि का नील वर्ण बताया है। हृदय की कमल की कर्णिका पर नील वर्ण का ओम का उच्चारण करने से हमें विशेष हमारे शत्रुजन को संबंध करने का और अनेक प्रकार की कार्य सिद्धि का यदि क्षमता आती है तो उपाध्याय परमेष्टि के इस नील वर्ण के ओम के ध्यान से प्राप्त होता है। और पांचवा परमेष्टि है साधु परमेष्टि। साधु परमेष्टि का श्याम वर्ण बताया है, तो हमारी हृदय की कर्णिका पर श्याम वर्ण का ओम का उच्चारण करे और उसमें साधु परमेष्टि को गर्भित करके उच्चारण करते हैं तो निश्चित हमारे ज्ञान ध्यान में विशेष मन लगता है और संसार शरीर भोगों से विरक्ति होती है। और इस प्रकार पंच परमेष्टि का अलग अलग रूप रंग धारण करके यदि हम ध्यान चिंतन करते हैं तो विशेष हमें फल मिलता है। और ये ओम 3 अक्षर से बना हुआ है, अ, उ और म। अ कंठ से प्रभावित होता है, कंठ से ही उच्चारण होता है, और उ हृदय को प्रभावित करता है। उ का उच्चारण हृदय से होता है और म का उच्चारण नाभि स्थान से होता है। ये नाभि स्थान पर कंपन होता है। ये अ, उ और म मिलकर के ओम बनता है और जो ओम का उच्चारण करता है तो हमारे शरीर के 7 चक्र जागृत हो जाता है। इसलिए प्रत्येक व्यक्ति को ओम का उच्चारण के साथ में अपना दिन की सुप्रभात की चर्या प्रारंभ करनी चाहिए। प्रत्येक व्यक्ति को सुबह उठ करके ओम का उच्चारण करें। ओम हमारा ध्यान बीजाक्षर है। इन ध्यान बीजाक्षर के माध्यम से हम हमेशा कहते हैं कि स्नान करने से तन की शुद्धि होती है, दान करने से धन की शुद्धि होती है, चिंतन करने से विचारों की शुद्धि होती है और ध्यान करने से आत्मा की शुद्धि होती है। तो चिंतन करना है, ओम का चिंतन करते हुए पंच परमेष्टि को गर्भित करते हुए उस चिंतन के माध्यम से हमें आत्म ध्यान में पहुंचना है। ये ओम का उच्चारण केवल मन की मलिनता को दूर नहीं करता है परंतु हमारे अंदर चेतना को भी जागृत करता है। इसलिए प्रत्येक धर्म में ओम का महत्व बताया है। हमारा वेद शास्त्र भी ओम से ही प्रारंभ होता है। इसलिए सारे धर्मावलंबी ओम का विशेष महिमा बताते हैं। तो प्रत्येक व्यक्ति को ओम को लेकर ही अपने जीवन को प्रारंभ करना चाहिए। सुप्रभात की वेला को प्रारंभ ओमकार से ही हमारे प्रारंभ करना चाहिए। जैन दर्शन में 4 अक्षर 84 लाख मंत्रों का सार है तो ओम है। इसलिए ओम की विशेष महिमा अद्भुत महिमा बताई है हमारे जैन आचार्यों ने। जो भी आचार्य मुनि जो भी परंपरा से मोक्ष गए हैं उन्होंने भी ओम का माध्यम लेकर के वो अपनी आत्मा का चिंतन करते हुए आत्मा के ऊपर मलिनता थी उसको दूर करके मोक्ष को प्राप्त किए, भगवान बन गए। इसलिए महर्षि मुनियों ने भी ओम का उच्चारण के साथ में अपने आत्म कल्याण किया है। सुख शांति चाहिए, आत्म कल्याण चाहिए तो आध्यात्मिक दृष्टि से भी और अलौकिक दृष्टि से भी ओम हमारे जीवन के लिए बहुत महिमा युक्त है। इसलिए प्रत्येक व्यक्ति सत्य कीर्ति अपवित्र पवित्र हुआ सुचित दुष्टित अपिवा ध्याय पंच नमस्कार सर्वपापे प्रमुच्यते। इसलिए कहते ओम पीयूष की प्याली है, गुणों की थाली है और ओम के बिना जीवन खाली ही खाली है। ओमकार के बिना जीवन खाली ही खाली है। ओमकार का नाद हमारे जीवन में एक विशेष आह्लाद उत्पन्न करने वाला है। इसलिए ओम की महिमा सारे धर्मों में बताई है। वैसे जैन धर्म में भी सारे जैन धर्म का सार है ओम, सारे मंत्रों का सार है ओम। इस ओम को आप हमेशा अपने जीवन में प्रति समय साथ में रखें तो यहाँ पर भी सुख शांति आगे भी सुख शांति प्राप्त हो सकती है। इसलिए ऐसे ओमकार रूप पंच परमेष्टि भगवान को हम मन वचन का इसी बारंबार नमोस्तु करते हैं। ओम नमः जिनाय, ओम नमः जिनाय, ओम नमः जिनाय। बोले ओमकार मंत्र की जय। आचार्य श्री शंभो सारथी गुरुदेव की जय। आचार्य श्री शंभो सारथी गुरुदेव की मैं शिष्या पुनीत चैतन्य मुखी माता जी श्रीयोग आश्रम में मैं विराजमान हूँ और सब में शिखर के पवित्र स्थान पर यहाँ पर हम अपनी साधना में रत हैं। ऐसे गुरु का आशीर्वाद हमें प्राप्त होते जा रहा है, गुरु का देन है। इसी शुभ मंगल भावना के साथ में गुरुदेव के श्री चरणों में नमो नमोस्तु नमन नमन नमन।
Thank you so much, Mataji. That was so peaceful. Now we move on to our next panelist. We are honored to have Swami Narasimhan Nanda Maharaj in our panel. Swamiji is a monk of the Ramakrishna Mutt and Ramakrishna Mission founded by Swami Vivekananda in 1897. He's currently the secretary of Ramakrishna Mission Sevashram in Kozhikode, Kerala, where he runs a higher secondary school, a kindergarten, and a polyclinic. He was a former director of Prabuddha Bharata, Swami Vivekananda's 1896 English monthly journal of humanities and social sciences. He speaks regularly on Indian philosophy, culture, and Swami Vivekananda at many prestigious institutions like IIT. He has edited a volume of Swami Vivekananda's teachings titled Vivekananda Reader. He has been published in Hindi, English, Sanskrit, Malayalam, Bengali, and Tamil.
A very good evening to all of you present here in this panel discussion on Upanishad and Om. I am happy to be a part of this discussion, and I thank India Canada Consortium for having invited me to this panel discussion. The quest for happiness is an everlasting quest, and it's a quest which does not give grasp, it eludes our grasp. And this quest can be called the cause of the origin of religion. One of the very early texts of philosophy, of Sankhya philosophy, called the Sankhya Karika, written by Ishvara Krishna, has this verse which says that people approach religion being afflicted by three kinds of sorrow: the sorrow caused by one's body and mind, the sorrow caused by other living beings, and the sorrow caused by divine causes. The quest for happiness is the quest to transcend one's limitation. When we look ourselves at the mirror, what do we see? We see a body. We see a person who is limited by a physical presence. We see a person who is limited by social identity. We see a person who is limited by political and linguistic identity. The quest of spirituality, in essence, is a quest to transcend these boundaries, to transcend limited identity. And this quest is what has been described in detail in a very simple language in the Upanishads. Swami Vivekananda wanted to start a system. He wanted to put in place a system where these truths, these eternal truths contained in the Upanishads, could be understood by even a baby and could be practiced in our daily lives. Swami Vivekananda said that if one had to condense the message of Upanishads in one language, one word, then it would be strength. He said, the Upanishads call out to us, Abhi, Abhi, fearlessness, fearlessness. And so the Upanishads point us in the direction of our true nature, our true potential, which is infinite, which is without sorrow, which is of the form of intelligence. And the Upanishads say that if you know that, if you know yourself, then you would be able to transcend all the limitations. For instance, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, Dvitiyat vai bhayam bhavati. Indeed, fear is born out of the concept of the other. Fear is born out of difference. Fear is born out of separating yourself from the other. not only fear, but the entire array of humanism is born out of difference, creating distinction. And that is why the Upanishads say that Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahman. All this is indeed Brahman. It is that one reality which sages call by different names, says the Rig Veda. Ekam Sat Bahuda Vipraha Vadanti. So, this reality, which by different people is called by different names, by different people is philosophized in different ways, has to be understood on the experiential level. It's one thing to know what is a pizza, it's another thing to know how to cook a pizza, but it's entirely a different thing to actually eat a pizza and to understand the taste. Swami Vivekananda, following in the footsteps of his guru, Sri Ramakrishna said, religion is realization. He said, 1 ounce of practice is more than 20,000 tons of worthless talk, frothy talk. That is the language he uses. So Swami Vivekananda says that the religions of the world have become lifeless mockeries. He says that the goal of religion is to bring happiness, bring fulfillment to the human mind, to the human heart. Whereas what has religion done? Religion has caused a lot of bloodshed. And so it is high time that we embrace the real goal of religion, which Swami Vivekananda so succinctly pointed out. He said, each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divinity within by controlling nature, external and internal. This controlling nature, both external and internal, is what would lead us to being better human beings. And then realizing our divine being, of our being a divine being. Swami Vivekananda says that Vedanta teaches us how to understand our true, limitless, infinite potential. And what happens by understanding this? Contrary to the popular belief that if a person practices Vedanta, they would become monks with tonsured heads, Swami Vivekananda says, no. If you practice Vedanta, if you are a farmer, you become a better farmer. If you are a teacher, you become a better teacher. If you are an engineer, you become a better engineer. Hence, you excel at whatever you do because you understand who you truly are. Your self esteem increases, your self confidence increases. One Sister Nivedita, Swami Vivekananda's famous disciple, was asked, Swami Vivekananda used to tell so many things which used to increase one's confidence. Then Sister Nivedita said, no, that's not the case. Swami Vivekananda only spoke of the Atman. He only spoke of the divine nature, divine essence of all human beings. It's only coincidental, it's only incidental that people took it to increase their confidence. So, Swami Vivekananda always says this as he so famously, freely translated the sentence from Katha Upanishad, Uttishtata, Jagrata, Prapya Varan Nibodhata. As Swami Vivekananda has done many places, in many of his lectures and writings, he freely translated this sentence and he said, arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. What is the problem that we face today? What is the problem that our young generation and the present generation, not so young, also faces today? That is the problem of the mind. The Amrita Bindu Upanishad says, Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. It is indeed the mind which is the cause of both bondage and liberation of a human being. So, what we need today is a tool to effectively manage the mind being the basic the basic, the essential tool which is necessary to do anything that we have to do in our lives. And so we need today some technology to manage this mind, to train this mind. And that technology is provided in the Upanishads. The Taittiriya Upanishad says that once a person understands who she or he really is, that person becomes completely in control of oneself. Apnoti swarajyam, vakpati manasaspati. A person who understands one's self dominion, one's swaraj, one's area, that is oneself, then that person becomes pati, ruler of vak, of one's speech. Vakpati manasaspati. That person becomes the ruler of one's mind. Chakshushpati. The person becomes the ruler of the eyes or the sense organ. So, what we need today is, as Swami Vivekananda said, go back to the Upanishads. We need to forget, or we need to not so much emphasize the Puranas, the stories which are contained, which are quite interesting, of course, to read. Swamiji calls these Puranas, he says Puranas are nothing but historical novels. So instead of concentrating on these historical novels, we have to concentrate on the life giving, strength giving message of the Upanishads. Swami Vivekananda wanted everyone to read and understand the message of the Katha Upanishad. Also, the Upanishads give us a glimpse of how spirituality and science are moving on the same direction. Spirituality is moving towards the search of truth, the search of truth inside a being, search of truth of inner life. Science, on the other hand, is moving towards search of truth, but in the external direction. Many years ago, many millennia ago, a disciple approached his teacher, a rishi, and asked, Kasminnu Bhagavan Vigyate Sarvamidam Vigyatum Bhavati iti. Oh, sir, what is it knowing which all of this is known? The same question was asked by Albert Einstein towards the end of his life. He said, give me one force that explains all the four forces of the nature. Today, that quest, which Albert Einstein called the great unified field or the grand unified field, that quest in particle physics, in higher physics, quantum physics, has been given different names like M theory, string theory, superstring theory, parallel universes, so on and so forth. But the quest continues to find out that one force which explains all the forces of this earth. The question is not different from the Upanishadic question. Tell me that one thing, knowing which I can know everything in this universe. And that one thing is something inner. Spirituality is also similar to science because spirituality is verifiable and repeatable. A person who follows the truths of the Upanishads can realize what the Upanishads tell, no matter where that person lives, when that person lives. It was possible 100 years ago, it will be possible 100 years hence. So, science has these two cardinal principles. There should be any scientific principle should be repeatable and verifiable. That is what happens in the case of spirituality also. In recent times, we have been given proof of this when Swami Vivekananda, then Narendranath Datta, approached Sri Ramakrishna and asked, Sir, have you seen God? Sri Ramakrishna said, Yes, I have seen God. Narendranath Datta asked, Can you show God to me? Sri Ramakrishna said, Of course, I can show God to you. So it's a truth which is verifiable, which is repeatable, similar to scientific truth. And as the Katha Upanishad so poetically said, Avritta Chakshuhu Amritatvam. The Katha Upanishad gives an example of how the senses are destroyed. I call it the manufacturing defect of the senses. They say, Paranchi Khani Vyatranat Swayambhu. Swayambhu, God, has Vyatranat, destroyed the senses. Why? Paranchi Khani, they have, the senses have been destroyed. Why? Tasmat Parang Pashyatina Antaratman. That is why those senses go only outward, not inward. So if you want to go inward, then what you have to do? Avritta Chakshuhu Amritatvam. A person who wants to know oneself, one who has the perseverance to do that, turns one's senses inward, turns one search inward, and finds that truth and becomes immortal. In the sense, understands that this body is not one's true nature and that this body may perish, but that person would not perish. This was the message which was given to Arjuna by Sri Krishna when Arjuna was unable to perform in the battlefield. There are many times in our lives when we are faced with battles, faced with dilemmas, and when we are unable to perform at our optimum level. And that is when we need these guides, these guideposts, these texts which guide us, which tell us that look, your true nature is not that which perishes. Your true nature is that which is beyond perishing, which is limitless, which is eternal. It's indeed a matter of great joy that at this age and time, when people are running after means of entertainment and enjoyment, we have all come together here to discuss about Om and Upanishads. I thank the India Canada Consortium for having given me an opportunity to share my views with you. Thank you. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Rama Krishna Arpanamastu.
Thank you so much, Swamiji, for your insightful words. And I have so many thoughts on my mind right now, as I'm sure as everyone else does as well. However, we will move on to our next panelist. We are honored now to welcome Dr. Somesh Kumar Mishra. Dr. Somesh Kumar Mishra is a scholar with an extensive knowledge of Buddhist studies, ancient Indian and Asian studies, and Sanskrit. He has been the principal of Sri Sitaram Vedic Adarsha Sanskrit Mahavidyalaya and the head of the Department of Bodha Darshan since 2000. Dr. Mishra has participated in several international conferences. He has also served as a subject expert for the appointment of professors, associate professors, and assistant professor in many universities, including Calcutta University, Nalanda University, and currently he is the subject expert at Sachi University as well.
Am I audible? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you are.
Very respected Swamiji, Mataji, and equally distinguished scholars in the panel, and distinguished people who have joined us in today's function. I'm extremely delighted. I'm rather thankful to the India Canada Consortium to have invited me to be a part of this August gathering and to listen to the galaxy of intellectual, the luminaries of different fields. Actually, it was Hemanti Bhattacharya to whom I was talking one day, and she wanted me to share my views on spirituality with a special reference to Buddhism and Indian philosophy also as such. So, well, see, I'm a student of Buddhism and Indology And I see things in a very different way, which may be uh, at times becomes difficult for uh, the traditional scholars to they normally get me wrong when I start with my logics. So at the very outset, I would say that uh, forgive me if I do not only confine myself to the factors of Shraddha, and I resort to certain other logics and certain other scientific findings. So if that does not disturb your the seminar, then I should start talking. Well, I was told that I would be getting 15 minutes, and although that's a small time and a huge canvas to paint, but anyway, friends, I'll try my level best to pinpoint straight to the topic. Firstly, and this would help me to cut the story short. Well, understanding or studying any culture or any philosophy as such, the very first question which I think becomes pertinent is we should ask that what is the highest human excellence that that particular philosophy or that particular culture professes. Like, take for example the Sanatan Dharma. You have the liberty to become Brahma. The Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvam Asi, and Shivoham means the getting one with the providence, getting one with the sublime. So this was the height which an individual could attain. Similarly, in Buddhism also, we find the concept of bodhisattva. Every being has the potential to become the Buddha. Now, if this is the human excellence that one could attain, naturally, the journey through the intellect alone, the buddhi, intellect is I don't know how correct it is to call buddhi as intellect. So to take help of buddhi and reach to the level of sublime, that would be expecting too much from a factor like intelligent will or buddhi, whatever it is you may call. So here, anubhuti becomes important. What Swamiji referred to by giving example of pizza, he said that you have to make anubhav, you have to experience that. So experiential knowledge is basically essential. Supposing you, like I live in Calcutta, I am exposed to so many kinds of sweets, but even the best of the person will not be able to state in words what is the difference in taste between a rasagulla and a pantua. So, and this is true for any of the Gyanendriya, any of the sense organs, their perceptions, their experiences, it cannot be put in words. And Indian philosophy, when we talk of, we should keep ourselves reminded of the fact that we are talking of Upanishads, which were the spiritual experiences, not the worldly experiences like eating something or seeing something. So those spiritual experiences, the rishis tried to give intellectual interpretation to it. So I really do not know how much just the words can help us. So Swamiji was right when he said that anubhuti is important. You have to do the anubhav. Coming to spirituality, see, I'll maintain the time that you have allotted me. Um, what is spirituality? We have been referring to the word spirituality so very often. We come across so many descriptions, so many definitions of spirituality. There is one definition which I find very attractive. It is in Bhagavad Gita. It says, Swabhavam Adhyatma Uchyate. Adhyatma is equated with the word spirituality. Swabhava. Swa here is referred to as Atma. To be sthit, to be harbored in the Atma, when your consciousness gets harbored in Atma, which normally is said to be, a person is said to be Atmasta. That is a stage which we call Adhyatma. So now, since I have to speak from the point of view of Buddhism, so naturally this would come to the mind that Buddha did not believe in Atma. So how does this, how do I relate this to the other one? Well, he did not say the word Atma, but there are numerous examples in the Tripitaka which can be given. And moreover, he did say about the Chitta. Chitta, Chetsik, Roop and Nirvan, these were the four components which he dealt with in his Abhidhamma Pitaka. So Chitta and upgradation of Chitta, the upward journey of Chitta. So that was the main concern of Buddha. And he did give that how by nature Chitta is pure. And he also said how it gets maligned, how you can purify it. And the purified Chitta can be equated with the condition of spiritualism. Once you are established in your purified Chitta, that is a stage which you can equate with Adhyatma in Buddhism. So, see, now here the question arises, like supposing we are living in a age which is age of reason. It is not possible, I mean, we can, all of us know it very well, that how effective the words of the Shastras are today to the new generation. So, well, all the facts, all the truths are there. But what is missing is, like Upanishads, like the Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, all profess the same truth. Then what was the reason? Why was Bhagavad Gita created after Upanishads? Is there any difference between the two? No. Actually, the yogyata and manyata, the capability to understand a subject of the social milieu is very important, and the language in which they will understand is also important. And this can be exemplified by the fact that, see, Jesus Christ did not teach anything wrong, but he was trying to teach the people faster than they could learn. Socrates did not teach anything wrong, but he was poisoned. So thing is that you have to keep into consideration the yogyata and the manyata of the person, what he believes in, the verse that attracts him, the verse that is meaningful to him. So the scriptures have to be presented in a way that the new generation understands. Well, giving examples from Buddhism, I would say that Buddha, I find him very accurate. Like when he talks of spiritualism, he's exactly talk of the exact target. He was asked, what is your target? He said, sabba papassa akaranam kusalassa upasampada sachittang paryodapanam etang buddhana sasan. This is Pali. Means eliminate all evil, cultivate values, good values. Your chitta will get purified, and this is the target of life. He, in a simple words, to a less educated person, he gave this formula. And he also said, like in Sanatan Dharma, you say that there is a concept of Amritasya Putraha. So he also gave a similar concept. He said, Pakati Babhasarang idang chittang agantuka malehi upaklita. That by nature, every chitta is pure. Agantuka malehi means the impurities that come, that malign the person. Otherwise, the person is the same, Amritasya Putraha. Regarding defilements also, he talked in a very certain words that what you have to eliminate. If you refer to Abhidhamma Sangaho, there is a book of Abhidhamma related to the Abhidhamma Pitak, not a book of Abhidhamma Pitak. He exactly gives the numbers. He says, Attadha lobha mulani, dosa mulani, chadudha, moh mulani, chadveti, dwadasa kusalasiyu. There are 8 lobha mulak, greed, the consciousness that are rooted in greed. 2 consciousness is rooted in hatred. So likewise, he gives the full list of the consciousness where they are rooted, and he gives an exact procedure how you have to eliminate them. Regarding the process, there is a Visuddhi Magga, is a post-canonical literature of Buddhism. He said in words of Buddha Ghosha, his Buddha Vachan was said, Sile patithaya naro sapayo, chittang payang chabhavayang, atapi nipako bhikko, so imang vijataye jatanti. I'm not trying to give you the verses actually. I just wanted to tell you that how systematic he was. How systematically he arranged the path on which the learner could tread upon. What a person had to attain, he said that, look, it's the Trishna, it is the craving for things that has made you a slave. So if you get out of it, then all the defilements would be gone. The defilements are there because of Trishna. So tanhaya vipahanena nibbanangiti brumi. You get out of it and you'll be free of all the evils. He exactly gave a structure how to move from Kamavachara Chitta, means the consciousness which roams in the Kamavachara Bhumi, means the world, the ephemeral world. If you close your eyes, you see a palatial building and a beautiful car. But Ramakrishna Paramahansa never saw a palatial building and tons of money. So that was Rupa Vachara Chitta, because that was a Chitta, a consciousness which was elevated. Then comes the Rupa Vachara Chitta, which you can equate with the Nirakar. Rupa Vachar you can equate with Sakar, Arupa Vachar you can equate with the Nirakar. And then you have the Lokuttar. See, these are the traditional descriptions which are given in the Shastras. But actually, I want to give something else. If I'm allowed to speak for 5 or 7 more minutes. So,
please, yeah, sure.
See, we are fortunate to have a neuroscientist, neurotherapist with us. I heard the neurosurgeon, some neuroscientist, the lady who was talking to us. See, we do meditations. The first step to meditation is they will ask you to listen to your, see your breathings, anapan. What is the function of that? All you need to do is, I mean, your neuroscientist would agree with me that you see, you have to minimize your number of thoughts per minute. It is said that if your thoughts are between 12 to 15, then your brain is in the very good state of functioning. It's functioning fine. But supposing if the thoughts per minute increase up to 40 or 45 and it stays there for long, this creates psychosomatic problems. You get the mental diseases. You get negative thoughts because in the brain stem, the neural patterns of the brain that get disturbed. And for this reason, Buddha suggested the Vipassana forms of meditation. There are so many forms of meditation. I find Vipassana Buddhist meditation very, very scientific because Kaya Anupassana, Chitta Anupassana, Dhamma Anupassana, Vedana Anupassana, you exactly know that at what stage of Vipassana you are in. So then, so Chitta Suddhi through Vipassana was very, very essential. Then let me request
Sir,
Madam.
should I share the screen?
Yes, please.
So that the chart you have sent first, right? The chakras.
The chakras and the other one also. So, or basically, see, I have sent 2 charts to the consortium through Madam Hemanti. So these, see, if a student is made to understand this, you can get in net. The other chart you will not get in net because that was my presentation in the World Conference. So here, the doctors and the neuroscientists, they have given you exactly that where what harm your anger does, what harm your grief does, what harm your worry does, what harm your stress does, what harm the fear does, what happens with love is in a different context. It has been used. It's so I'll see the other chart and I'll start with the fear. Can I have that chart, please?
Yeah, I'm going to share again. So I actually cannot share both chart together.
Acha, okay.
Yeah.
See, here you find that there is a yoga system, the chakras. You know all of you know this, Mooladhara and Swadhisthana and Manipura. You have heard of it. But the scientists have given us the exact that what they are related to. Supposing Earth in Mooladhara chakra, when a person is in Mooladhara chakra, fear is a constant factor over there. And because of fear, adrenal gland secretes the adrenaline, which damages the body, and you are always busy with the thoughts of your survival, your safety. Then comes the chakras. So these are although this requires a little time to explain all these things because even the glands and organs are there which you need to discuss. And then the elements also, like earth is an element. If you go to the Tantra, it says the characteristic of earth is odor. So the odor which a body has, be it any, so that odor is because of the earth factor. So as you move upwards, you see, you reach a stage where this is the third eye in the 7th stage. And this has been described in the Samaya Phala Sutta of Digha Nikaya by Buddha, the visible fruits of the life of the recluse. These are the organs which gets strong. If you move from the Mooladhara, adrenaline gets strong. Now I come to the chart with me. I have not shared it with you. So this is all right. Now let me come to 2-3 other points. The neuroscientists, they came to the conclusion that the different shastras, they have a corresponding organ in the body. When that shastra is recited in a particular, because every shastra used to have a tantra, which unfortunately is not available in most of the shastras. So when the shastras are recited in a particular fashion, supposing we were discussing Vedanta, what does Vedanta do? So this has effect if the Upanishads, Brahma Sutras, and Bhagavad Gita, if that is studied. So it is said that the integrated function of the central nervous system, it activates that area. You can have an example that supposing if you have come across the word karma kanda, means the sacrificial cult. A Vedanti would never be interested in the sacrificial cult. And the reason, anybody who has the upper tract of the central nervous system is activated, he would prefer to go for dhyan and meditation and all those things. He would not go for the rituals. He would not prefer rituals rather. So that is a different sort of the physical frame provides him with this input. Like we are having a yoga day. What yoga actually, the cerebral cortex of the brain. See, the cerebral cortex of the brain, it has fibers which are connected to the entire body. If you feel a pin in the lower part of your leg, the brain understands that that part is injured in some way. So what I mean to say is, all these systems were created, and they were created with specific signs, like the godheads that we were referring to. We referred to Mataji, referred to, and Swamiji also talked about Bhagavad Gita and all. Supposing we talk of Krishna, they have exactly located the concept that whatever is there in the Brahmanda is there in the Pinda. This is the formula. So the neuroscientists again, and they were associated at one point of time with the Maharshi Mahesh Yogi ji and his channel. So I was a regular visitor of that channel. Like Buddha, we are talking of Buddha. So where is Buddha located? So Buddha is located in the brainstem and in the thalamus. So now the function of thalamus, if you go through the function of thalamus, if you go through the function of cranial nerves, you will find that the method prescribed by the Buddha is so very connected to the organ to which he has been associated with, or where he has been located. I can give you another example of a Narasingha avatar. If there is a thread-like structure in the brain called diencephalon, if you dissect that structure with a blade, you will find a structure coming out. Just we know the story that Narasingha avatar, he broke the pillar and he came out, and then he took the father of took Hiranyakashipu and he tore him from the heart. That sort of structure comes before us. What I mean to say is that the method to communicate with the younger generation has to change. The old method in which we were communicating with them, or we were trying to, because extension is an integral part of education. Teaching and research are fine, but we have to, so if the scriptures do not make any sense to the young generation, it will not solve much of a purpose. So I get reminded of a scholar, of a German scholar, Albert Schweitzer, who once said in his book Civilization and Ethics that all crises, be it political crisis, be it social crisis, be it any crisis, religious crisis, it is because of the crisis in spirituality. So spirituality is such an important factor which has unfortunately not been taken up. I am so happy that India Canada Consortium has taken up and has understood the tried to take the message that how important spirituality is to the people at large. Actually, this has to be dealt with in a very elaborate manner. Well, my giving lecture for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or half an hour will not give much unless and until, like in Ramakrishna Mission, Maharaj Ji, he arranged, I taught there for 1 year, and that was for 2 hours duration. If something like this comes up, maybe we can find some good result which can be given to the society. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
Thank you
Like
so
we
much.
feel same, like it is very less time. We have so many to learn, and we have really less time today. We will surely do something in a bigger space for next time. We are looking forward to that.
Yeah. So I have something to say. Thank you so much, Dr. Shomesh. And, it's very enlightening to listen to all the speakers today. And every speaker has taught us something new, something more. I have not studied these subjects before, but I'm learning now. I just, had some tea and nuts, and I'm here again. I'm loving it. But the most important thing, we are mundane beings and we are laymen. We are not pandits and we don't study so much. But what we understand is, that anger destroys that was the most interesting part. Anger destroys your liver, and smile and laughter brings happiness and bliss and peace. Fear destroys your kidney, right? So, we all have been through anger, hot temperament in our families, within our friends, even outside. We lived in fear during the COVID. So we've gone through so much, but it's good to learn. But then, to practice is so difficult. That's what I tell Hoymunti, that I myself need a session. I just cannot concentrate. I just cannot meditate. I sit down to meditate, I cannot. So many thoughts come to my mind. And it destroys and damages that meditating session. When I do puja, I pray to God, but that's not meditation. So, I cannot just connect. It's very difficult for me to connect. Nowadays, it is becoming more difficult. And I think most of the people around are going through such phase because we are so mechanical. We are robots now. We have to go out to earn money. We have to do something, do that, do this, family pressure. So we are under so much pressure. Where is the solution? We know that our brain is getting damaged, our liver is getting damaged, our kidney is getting damaged, but we cannot do anything. And we are having more medicines or more drugs and spoiling our liver more, So this is so enlightening, but I need a solution for how to learn to meditate and concentrate. I cannot concentrate when I do puja. I cannot meditate. This is my flaw. I will not say, but yes, I think of a lot of things. I do good things. I don't think about harming others. I always think about doing good to others. But this is the way I meditate. But, concentrating on one thing is becoming very, very difficult. Very difficult.
Thank you so much.
At the end of the session, maybe, we will have a question answer session, and Divyasri, some people have questions for speakers. Divyasri will be, and Hemanti will be coordinating those question and answers. So we can move on now to Dr. Roy, Dr. Devipriya Roy, who's waiting.
Yes,
Sorry for the term.
absolutely. Before we move on, I am so tempted to say, because this is so close to my subject, but I will keep that on the shelf and let's discuss and let's come back to that and at a later time. Thank you so much. What a simple approach to connect so many concepts. And thank you, Dr. Mishra, for your thought-provoking words. Now we welcome Dr. Devi Priya Roy to our panel. Dr. Roy has been a professor of philosophy and comparative religion. She has earned her PhD in philosophy from Banaras Hindu University, working on the concept of bhakti. She has offered lectures on Hinduism and different aspects of bhakti in a modern context for adult audiences. Being a literature enthusiast, Devapriya ji has also been participating in literary seminars and editing magazines. Dr. Devapriya, the floor is yours.
Thank you. First, my thanks to India-Canada Consortium for letting me part of this wonderful discussion. And I have been listening to all the speakers, and I feel so much enriched and kind of awed by in the presence of so much wisdom. So, as I understand that today's topic is Omkar, so I shall try to share with you my understanding of what Omkar is. My voice is coming through all right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. So what is Omkar? As we have been talking about, so many people have already talked about it. Omkar and Omkar in the Upanishads. So Omkar in the Upanishads, Omkar has been equated or has been told to us to be the same as Brahman. And what is Brahman? Now, this is kind of intriguing, isn't it? We know Brahman is to be worshipped, or Brahman is, if we come from the side of Vedanta, Brahman is there, Nirakar, Nirvikar, Brahman. So what is the similarity of Brahman and Omkar? And what is Omkar actually? So first, let us think about what Brahman is. Brahman comes from the term Bri, Dhatu. That means growing big. So it is the big existence. That's all. Brahman is existence. The very isness, the very is of this universe. And by universe, I don't mean just our world. Actually, the universe is limitless. It comprises of limitless planets, extending galaxies, extending. There is no limit. That is the point. It is everywhere. So that Brahman, and we have been told that Brahman doesn't have any qualities. Brahman can be described only in three ways: Sat, Chit, and Anand. And what is Sat? Sat doesn't, normally we understand by Sat as good, but Sat here stands for existence, is. And that existence is self-conscious, Chit. And because it is everything, it is everywhere, it is full of joy. Not the joy that we think of in normal terms. I have lost something, I have been desiring something, and I have found it, I feel joyous. That's not the joy we are talking about here. Brahman is perfect, Brahman is Purn, Brahman has everything, so Brahman is full of joy. So joy is the core of Brahman. And out of that joy comes this universe. So this Anandatma Khalvayani Bhutani Jayanti. Out of this joy, this entire universe has been created. And that primal sound of creation, that primal sound is known as Omkar. So what is Omkar then? Omkar is that first vibration when Brahman decides. Now, Brahman naturally, people will the first question that comes to our mind is, how can Brahman desire? Because Brahman doesn't have any desire. Brahman is Nirakar Nirvishesh. Yes, that's true. But all power resides in Brahman as well. So Brahman, that will to create, just that vibration, that spandan comes in Brahman. I'm going to create, and create because it is going to play. What is the reason? Brahman doesn't need any desire, anything to desire for. So when a child is fed, when the child is dry, when the child is happy, the little baby, what does it do? It plays with its own fingers, its own hands, its own feet. Brahman is going to play, and it needs playmates, and it needs a playground. And once the play is done, it will play again. So it has decided that it is going to create, it is going to preserve its playthings and the playground, and then it is going to destroy, and it will play again. Just as a child, when he's on the sea beach, has been making, sand houses all day, sand castles all day. Then it is time to go home. The child stomps on the sand castle, knows that he will come tomorrow perhaps, he will make it again. Brahman is this whole creation, destruction, creation, preservation, destruction cycle is going all over the world, all over the universe. Billions of universes are being created. Billions of universes are being destroyed each and every moment. This continuous vibration is going on. And that vibration is Om. And that's why Upanishads have called Brahman and Omkar the same. So in on Mandukya Upanishad, it starts with Om iti akshara idam sarvamanya. Okay, Om is the akshara. It is the indestructible syllable. Om cannot be destroyed because it is eternal. It is beyond time. Because time starts when something has been created. All that has been created can be destroyed. But so time is the measure of creation and destruction, creation, destruction. Brahman is beyond creation, beyond destruction. Brahman has always been there. It is the existence. Even what is not is there. Even Shunya is there. So in Brahman, everything is there, and this eternal vibration is going on. And this vibration, that's why billions of galaxies, billions of stars are coming into existence, going out of existence. Each and every second, each and every moment. We don't even know nowadays the galaxies, we are getting pictures of galaxies shown to us that have died so many light years ago. So that Spandan is Om. Now, it is beyond time. So it says, Mandukya Upanishad says that it is Bhutang, Bhavishyat, Bhavati, Bhavishyaditi, and then it is beyond all time. It is what has gone before, it is what is happening now, it is what will happen in the future, but it stands beyond time. It is that eternal vibration. And that vibration is there in each and every particle of this universe. Now, this is not something new, actually. The ancient philosophers, ancient Greek philosophers also mentioned, Heraclitus mentioned that all the planets are moving to a music. So that music, that celestial music, whatever they had glimpsed, that's what Heraclitus was mentioning. When we go to the Bible, In the beginning, they say, in the beginning there was the Word. The Word was with God. The Word was God. The Word became flesh. And what is the Word? When God first, he looked, everything was chaos. God was standing over the chaos on the deep, and God said, let there be light. And the chaos was sorted out. Now, the Indian philosophy, Upanishads, view it a little different way, because we say that in Brahman, everything is samarasa. Everything is balanced. There is no distinction. It is ekam advityam. So there is no distinction between you and me, I and thou. Everything is samarasa. Light and darkness, everything is one. When it starts to create, when the will to create starts, then the first thing that happens is that light and darkness are divided. So when we go to Chandi, in Chandi it says that the first thing is in Ratri Sukta. It says, Om Ratri Vyakhadayati Purutva Devakshvi Vishwa Adhishriyo Adhita O Varipa Amatya Nivato Devyudata Yotishi Vadhate Tama. That Ratri Devi, she is, now Ratri here doesn't mean night. It just means that darkness that first emerged when light and darkness were separated. And that dark, she is the mother of all, and she is Omkar. From her, everything evolved. So that Samarasa, that where everything was unified, in which everything was balanced, was disturbed in Brahman. And that will emerged that I'm going to create, that is, we call that Brahma aspect. I'm going to destroy, sustain him, Vishnu aspect. And then when I'm done, I will destroy, but creation will start again. So Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, the three of them, the Struin aspect of that will to create is assimilated in one syllable, Om. Now that syllable is called Anahata. Okay, that sound is Anahata. It cannot be heard. You cannot give it any kind of aghat. It is akshara. It is never going to change. It will always be there. You pick up the smallest particle in the universe, and if you can feel, you will feel the same vibration in there. Okay. Now now the second thing they say is that in Upanishads, that is Atma. Okay. Now that is Atma. What does it mean? How does Brahman and Atman, we have heard it is the same. Now, where is that? Do you feel Brahman inside you? No, we don't. But only the Upanishadic rishis, by meditation, they could perceive it. But think about it logically. If Brahman is sarvavyapi, if Brahman is into everything, then you are Brahman too. And if you say, I don't accept it, then I can ask you back, who doesn't accept it? And you will say, I don't. And who are you? I am I. Do you exist? Yes, I do. Then you are Brahman, because Brahman is nothing but existence. So Brahman is there, and the Om represents that Atman in Atman. Now, how the Atman, they say, has 4 padas. Okay, 4 padas. Now, the Jagrat pad, okay, then first one is the Jagrat pad, 4 stages, 4 states. Okay. What we are right now, we are in the Jagrat pad. Okay. We are, but when we say Jagrat, I say we are awake. But in fact, this is where we are sleeping. We are not aware of our real nature. Our gaze is turned outwards. We are not looking inwards. So our gaze is turned outwards, and all that we are seeing are the different objects. Remember, actually Brahman is samarasa, but there is a disturbance, and now there is imbalance. And because of imbalance, we are looking at things which are separate from us. Our gaze is turned outwards and we are seeing things separately. And at this stage, Brahman is still present within us in the form of Vaishwanara. When we offer food to God, sometimes the mantra is taken from Gita and recited, Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva Deham Ashrita Pranapana Samayukta Pachamyannam Chaturvidham. So I am within human body as Vaishwanara, the fire. Now, is there a real fire going on in our body? Of course not. It is the consuming aspect of Brahman. And how does it go? It goes by pran and apan, the twin streams of breath that is going on in our body. Okay, we know that we are breathing in, breathing in, breathing out. So that is the different stream, disparate streams in our body. When we meditate, we are supposed to, Gypsy ji was just now referring so nicely how difficult it is to meditate. And I remembered what my guru always told me, that when you meditate, disparate thoughts will come to your mind. It is natural. Just watch it. And gradually, you will feel that those disparate thoughts will go away. And your pran and apan, the breathing streams, will become still. You will not, that doesn't mean that you have stopped breathing or you have stopped living, but the imbalance will be calmed. As the imbalance is calmed, you start moving from Jagrat to the next stage. Okay, as Someshji was so nicely explaining the chakra theory, how the power rises from the bottom of theoretically, we don't, if you cut open the body naturally, we will not find the chakras there. But as symbolically, as it has been said, the chakra is the lowest is Muladhar. And so it is stilled, as the imbalance is stilled, the two streams, pran and apan, are stilled, then the breath, then the power starts rising within you from one chakra to another. Let's not go there right now. So what I'm saying is that there Sri Krishna says, prana pana samayukta pachamyannam chaturvidam. At the Jagrat stage, the Vaishwanara is working within us. That consuming power is working within us by the imbalanced streams of breath. Okay. And then when we move to the next stage, we go to Swapnasthana. Okay. As the Upanishads tell us, that we start dreaming. Now, does it mean that we really start dreaming? Of course not. But our mind starts turning inwards. And we are becoming more and more aware of our inner faculties, inner thoughts. Okay, so that is where presence of Brahman is called pragya. Awareness of objects, outside objects, is absent now. You are sinking within yourself, becoming aware of it. This is swapna. Okay, but you can still remember, come back here. And then you come to sushupti. No, I'm sorry, I skipped one. From swapna is tvaijas. You are becoming aware of your inner faculties, and then you move to sushupti, deep sleep. Now you don't remember anything. And here you have achieved pragya. Okay. The final stage is turiya. Turiya is when you have become one with Brahman, your breath has totally, and as you start moving forward, you can feel, you can hear that sound. Those who are practicing breath control, they know that as they sink into samadhi, as they move forward, they can hear that nad. that nad, that primal sound, they can start hearing it. First, it comes to you in flashes, and then gradually, you can hear it all the time. As you move upper and upper and upper from one chakra to another, you can see the light then. So this is how it is. That's why they say Om is actually like a bow, you know, and that helps you. Atman is the arrow, and in Om, you just, the arrow is positioned, and then you hit the target. Okay. Now this is how Om and Brahman. Now this, because of Om, Gita has, of course, Gita doesn't talk about Ratri, but it does talk about that in 15th chapter, Urdha Moolam Adhashakam Ashtratam Praruadhar Avyam Chandangsi Yasaparnani Ya Veda Savedavit. So this universe has the roots up there, and its leaves are spread downwards, the branches. So when Om is that sap that connects everything, and we have to climb back through that sap that is there. So there are two aspects of Om then. One is that Om, that eternal Om, the eternal sound, the Akshara, the Anahata that is there. And the other is where we try to harmonize ourselves to that sound. Okay, that we do by repeating Om. When we, whatever we do, whatever puja we do, whatever mantra we chant, we start repeating Om. Many times we finish with Om. Okay, we are trying to harmonize ourselves to that eternal sound. So there are two ways. So when we are pronouncing, when we are chanting Om, that is Udgita, as Mandukya tells us. That is Udgita. That is the way we are letting our breath come out with that sound. But actual Om, really, it is all around us. It is all over us. Brahman is everywhere, and that vibration is all over, all around. We are trying to reach that stage by climbing through this. Okay, so, and that's why the Gita says at the end, Bhagavad Gita Ashtamadhyay, we all know, Om iti ek aksharam brahma vyapam mamanusmaram. So when you are dying, fix your mind on Om. If you can do that, you can go back, you can reach me. So our goal is to take the help of Om, gradually purify our mind and rise above our physical body, physical self, where everything is vishama, in unbalanced, is an imbalance, and go back to that balanced state where everything is uniform, go back to that Brahman state. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Roy. This is such a beautiful way of talking about the stages. I almost get the feeling of going on this hike and then kind of going each level of the hike and then ultimately reaching the summit. So it gives me that image. Such a beautiful way.
Our philosophy is such a beautiful thing, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
It guides us that way. Yeah, it guides us that way. And it gives us very poetically, if you go through the Upanishads, and they're very poetic. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Now we are delighted to have Dr. Nikki Gurinder Kaur Singh on the board of this panel. Dr. Nikki is a Crawford professor and a chairperson of religious studies at Colby College. She has been published extensively in the field of Sikh studies from Harvard University Press, Penguin, Sahitya Academy, Cambridge University Press, Sterling, and many more. She has authored over more than 100 articles and chapters. Her thoughts have also been broadcasted on television and radio in the United States, Canada, England, Ireland, Australia, India, and Bangladesh. She has served on the editorial board of several journals, including the History of Religions, the Journal of American Academy of Religions, Sikh Foundation, and Cross Currents. Dr. Nikki Gurinder is the Vice President of Phi Beta Kappa, Beta Chapter of Maine. She has received several awards for her scholarly work, and we are overjoyed that the city of Fresno has designated March 26th as Dr. Nikki Gurinder Kaur Singh Day.
Thank you. Am I on? Thank you very much, Divya, for your very lovely introduction. And I'm very, very grateful to Hemanti for inviting me and to Gypsy for getting me introduced to this wonderful group. I am a Sikh. I'm a scholar of the Sikh faith. I have been at Colby College in New England for many years, where I teach religions of India. And a big component of that is the Upanishads. Actually, in the Religions of India class, 1/2 of my semester is spent on Hinduism and primarily on the Vedas and the Upanishads, because these are beautiful. Just as Dr. Roy said, you know, they're poetically beautiful, they are philosophically so rich, and it really bothers me very much, to be honest with you, sitting at Colby College, which is a very kind of a very, very elite college. We get the best students, but they don't know nothing about this very, very, very rich tradition. I mean, how can you go, that's what I tell my students, how can you go through undergraduate? How can you have a BA degree without knowing the Plato's dialogues? Well, these are no less. I remember when I was a graduate student at the University of Pennsylvania, I did, I think it was the Chandogya Upanishad and Theaetetus, Plato's Theaetetus dialogue. And this analogies, the poetic symbolism, the dialogical form, the metaphysical reality, there was such a consonance between the two traditions. So I'm very, very glad to have this occasion. And I'm very happy to have this, you know, Swamiji and the scholars and all of you, practitioners, devotees, even some meditating. The Gypsy and I find it hard to meditate. So it's really lovely to be here. Thank you. So what I want to say is that from day one, you know, Sikh philosophy begins with Guru Nanak, begins with him in the 15th century. And Ik Onkar is the foundational, metaphysical, theological, existential, what should I say, the very quintessence of the Sikh tradition. Ik, numeral 1, and then the term Om. So it is, I've always been curious why in 15th century India, when Guru Nanak had at his disposal languages and words, you know, from the Arabic, Persian, Sanskritic, vernaculars, why did he opt for Om? So this morning really made me think about it. And I think what we have been saying is that experiential dimension, because he did not want, the divine is one, because there were people, a lot of antagonism, Islam is coming into the country, and there's a lot of kind of friction, conflict amongst people. And he wanted people to see their humanity and to kind of recognize the oneness of the divine. And so that oneness is very important, but rather than being a doctrine or a formula or something to be believed in, it had to be experienced. And that's why Om, which is kind of the most, what should we say, the quintessential akshara that cannot be changed, which is so primal, is used by him. And then, of course, as the Upanishads, and we have been hearing, you know, even one of my very interesting stories that I share with my students is from the Chandogya Upanishad, where Indra and Virochana, head of the gods, head of the demons, go to discover themselves, and who they go to? Prajapati, to discover the self. And there again, they live, you know, it's very interesting when you think about the Olympics and so forth, the torch is there, you know, poetically, from a literary perspective, it's a very beautiful introduction. So there they go to discover themselves, to get knowledge. And what does Prajapati? They live with him for 32 years. And They say, okay, who are we? And he gives them a pan of water. See yourself. And they see themselves. Oh yeah, jewelry, outward externals, perfect. Yes, it's really a reflection of their physical self. Pleased, they go. Virochana is quite okay because that's kind of demons. There's really no demons. It's really ignorance. So he's the ignorant one, thinks that's the end, returns happily. But no, Indra is not happy. That's not it. So then he comes back to Prajapati, spends another 32 years, and that's where we, just as we have been hearing from everybody so far, he learns about the dreaming stage, where that subject-object dualism kind of diminishes. And you're in that dreaming stage where you can be in India and America at the same time. That kind of total I, me, begins to dissolve and diffuse. And that's kind of the starting point. So he thinks, oh, okay, that's me. But no, he comes back and spends another 32 years. And that's where he thinks about deep sleep or the unconscious. And that's what you think about Jung and others too, that kind of collective unconsciousness. But that's not everything. You know, that's you're totally asleep. You don't think, you don't feel anything. So Indra then returns after 32 years, and then he comes and lives another 5 years with Prajapati. And after those 101 years, he realizes the fourth stage, which is Turiya that we just heard, which is everything, that experience, that individual is everything, all space, all time, beyond gender, beyond cause. And that oneness has to be literally experienced, known, satta. It is the reality, it is known. Chitta, look how sophisticated these thinkers are, these Upanishadic seers are. It has to be, you have to be aware of it. And not only that, you have to enjoy it, ananda. You have to really enjoy that bliss. So that kind of that journey, that self is, to me, it's very crucial that Guru Nanak made that basic fundamental principle is that oneness, but that oneness has to be experienced, and oneness has to be experienced with all of the cosmos, all space, time. So that's very crucial. And actually in Guru Nanak's verse, as you go, he has 974 hymns in the Guru Granth Sahib. It's a huge text, beautiful text, very philosophical, and gems of poetry there. He talks about the fourth stage. The fourth stage is where you go beyond these three and you recognize the absolute reality. So with that knowledge, there's also the knowledge of the self. How do you recognize? And there again, the Kathopanishad, I think it was Swamiji who said Kathopanishad, and to me too, I wrote on it, by the way. Has anybody read Somerset Maugham's novel, The Razor's Edge? Because he takes the title from the Upanishads, from the Kathopanishad. And actually I wrote a paper on it, which is discussed in it was used in philosophy classes and so forth. This was a while ago I wrote it, but I really kind of did a 20th century hermeneutics of the Kathopanishad through this novel, how these, all this knowledge of the Kathopanishad is relayed by Somerset Maugham. And I can send you a little link to it if anybody wants later on. So anyway, in the Kathopanishad, the self is not just body and soul that we hear in the Western sense. So Western philosophy is kind of very limited. Here, the Upanishads really kind of unfold it. The self is made up of the body, and that body is equivalent of the chariot. Just the chariot again. By the way, I did an independent study with a student of mine who's a philosophy major and wanted to do something, and independent study on the Kathopanishad and the Phaedrus, Plato. And you have this chariot analogy in both dialogues. And it was very, very interesting for me to work with him. And in the dialogue, the chariot is really the body. But then the chariot also needs the horses. And the horses are the senses, are indriya. Look at the intelligence, the beauty, and the simplicity of the dialogue too, to give us such complex metaphysical ideas and express them in such a simple kind of a easy way where they could be understood. So the analogy of that being the body, the senses are the horses. Well, the horses can go run around, or they can be controlled. So you need the reins. So the reins are the mind, and the driver is the buddhi. That's very interesting. That's where Buddhism, Buddha, the enlightened one, he had the power to discriminate. So that's the one. The driver is the one holding the reins. So the difference between buddhi and manas, it's brought out in the Kathopanishad. That's a really psychologically very sophisticated distinction. And so that's, now who are we missing? By the way, the chariot image again comes out in Buddhist literature with Nagasena and King Menander, their conversation. So there you don't have the owner, because in the Kathopanishad, there is the owner, and that is the Atma sitting at the back, enjoying. That is bliss. That's a joy we just heard of a little while ago. Who was it? Our second last speaker. They were mentioning it, the joy that is inside. So that's really the self. So each of us has that joy. We are Ananda. We are the senses. We are the body. We are the mind. And it is really, the journey is kind of realizing the self. And the Kathopanishad really puts it very, very beautifully by giving us this, who is the joy? The one who integrates it all. And that's what Guru Nanak is saying too. The senses are very important. In fact, I'm doing a book on Guru Nanak's aesthetics. And to me, the 5 senses, people say, oh, they have to be ignored and so forth. No, they have to be refined so that they can really discover, how can we understand the reality? How can we see the reality? How can we enjoy the reality if we did not have the senses? So the senses are very important, and these are part of our body, and they are a part of but we have to kind of refine them and make them come towards our self. So the whole philosophy of Guru Nanak is the knowledge of the individual, but the individual is the universal, the everything. And when we see that duality, and I think we heard that earlier on too, that's where the problems lie. So Guru Nanak's concept is that of how, me, I, ego, that gets in the way of not being able to discover the self. So the horses in that sense are running, chasing outside. They're not coming inwards. They're not realizing the macroscopic world that lies inside us. So it is to come inwards to discover the self. And for Guru Nanak, everything is that one, to realize that one. And then he becomes very existential. The whole Sikh philosophy is existentially oriented. So it's not philosophy for philosophy's sake, as in Plato, you converse, and Plato and Socrates wants to show how wise he is. But there too, Kathopanishad, Guru Granth Sahib, Plato's philosophy, it's really the knowledge of the self. The title of our talk today, Spirituality, Discovering the Self, who we are. And this is kind of a universal thing. And so for Guru Nanak, once you discover it, you see the one everywhere. Ekas te hoyo anant nanak, ekas mein samay jiyo. So one is that it's reflected everywhere, it's present everywhere. That's what we need to acknowledge. But at the same time, which I find very important in Guru Nanak, is also to relish the diversity. Everything comes from that one. Brahman is everything. The one is everything. You can call it Ram, Rahim, Khuda, Allah, the various names, Mother, Sahib, Sahiba, all of them are there. But it is also expressed in diverse forms. Koi na kisi jeha. No two are alike. So everything is distinct. And to recognize the self is really sums up, the oneness, the Om, Ik Onkar. What is it? To see yourself in everybody. Aap pachhane sarab jiya. Aap, to recognize, to see the self in everybody. That's really the quintessence. So that very metaphysical philosophy is practiced on the everyday, daily basis. And that's where you have the institutions of seva, langar, etc. And being together. This is a sangat too. So where we are together, we are seeing, and we discover the self is there in you, him, her, in that little ant, in that tree, in that sky. That's what it is. And that's what gives it beauty, wonder. That's why everything is so, the whole thing is that wondrous mood, the wondrous joy. Vismad Tarti, Vismad Khani, everything is wondrous because you recognize that deep inside you, that little individual self is the everything. Thank you very much for giving me this occasion.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This was so enlightening. I might have, there are so many questions in my mind, so I might take up a bit of your time at the end of our discussion.
Please stay with us, Dr. Nikki.
I have so much to do. I have to actually go to a colleague of mine is retiring, so I have to go to her goodbye. So, but I want to thank you all, and I'm sure I'll have more occasions with you. And you know, this is what I do, but I never get the occasion to share. You know,
So
my
if you have just 1 or 2 minutes to answer right now, then Divyasri, you can go for the questions before she left the meeting. Yeah.
Yes.
If you
Oh,
have,
that's a lot of pressure. Okay.
I'll answer very shortly. Yes. Just,
absolutely. That's a lot of pressure, but thank you so much. I don't want to keep you from your engagements.
No. 1 or 2 minutes I can. Kishore,
right.
sorry for that.
Just name of the book she mentioned. Can we request if you can put it in a chat box?
The one, the Somerset Maugham's novel?
Yeah. Yes,
that's
please.
The Razor's Edge that comes from the Upanishad, Kathopanishad, the title of it.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's wonderful, Dr. Nikki Singh.
Lovely to meet you all. My very good wishes. Thank you, Gautamji, and all of you.
So can I wish you Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa,
Vaheguru Ji Ka, everything, and Namaskar, and you know, I'm so glad. And Tattvamasi. By the way, my husband, who's Irish, he learned Sanskrit at Heidelberg in India, and he has a very good book where he compares. I'm comparing Greek philosophy, Greek plays, and our Vedic hymns and so forth. So
wow,
the twin gods. He has a whole book. So anyway, and he knows Sanskrit very well. So bye, everybody.
Bye bye. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
I think once there should be only a question answer day where we can all have our questions and have them addressed. Thank you. Now, with further ado, we welcome Haimanti Bhattacharya as one of our panelists. She is the Vice President of the India-Canada Consortium. Haimanti holds a Master of Arts in Sanskrit with the focus of Vedic studies from Jadavpur University in India. And she also has a certificate in mindfulness practice certification from the University of Toronto. She founded the Self-Wellness Awareness Organization, otherwise known as SWA, with whom we have collaborated today. And her organization offers opportunities to learn and practice mindfulness and a non-dual lifestyle. Haimanti has translated and published the manuscript of Sadvani Gitika, the teachings of Ma Anandamayi, which has been written by Swami Omkarananda Giriji. She was a former project fellow with the Sanskrit Sahitya Parishad in Kolkata, where she worked on the Dictionary of Sanskrit to English Technical Terms of Mathematics and the Sanskrit to English Technical Terms of Ancient Architecture. Now we welcome Haimanti and invite her to give us her wisdom, to share her wisdom with us.
Thank you, Divyasri. And you know what I'm feeling now? I am in a stage that we know from Upanishads, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. So much wisdom, so much knowledge we gathered today from Swamiji, from Mataji, and all scholars, all of you. So I feel now I should not speak, but think what I gained today. But going forward, we are living in a practical world. I have to speak, as I said, that I will share some thoughts from my own belief from Gita. So today, I thought, because the panel is on spirituality and Omkar, so I thought I will share spirituality from Bhagavad Gita, like how Bhagavad Gita has guided to go forward to a spiritual path. So I will share my screen first. Give me some time to start the sharing. You can see the screen, right? Okay. So when we start about the spirituality, first question comes in the mind, what is spirituality? We already heard about the what is spirituality from Dr. Shomesh Kumar Mishra. He explained it so nicely, but going forward, I just want to repeat that spirituality means finding out a way of living in perfect peace and happiness, finding meaning in our life. Spirituality means realizing the ultimate truth about ourselves or being self aware and discover the joy that is within us. Because our true self is Sat Chit Ananda, that is existence, consciousness, and bliss. So, that is the main aim to have a spiritual life. But the question is why? Why do we need a spiritual life? The answer is very simple, because we all want to be happy. Apparently, we think we are happy, but the happiness that we have or all are very temporary. And most of us, we actually confess that we are not happy. Spirituality leads to that inner happiness, which is our true nature. So, being spiritual means finding out who we are, our true nature, and living in joy, bliss. What is the path to spirituality? As I said, I will follow the Bhagavad Gita. So, there are 4 ways from Bhagavad Gita. It is all about discovery of who we are, or Atma Gyan. It is the essence and practical teachings of Upanishad. And the 4 yogas are the secret of our spiritual life. Yogas are the 4 ways towards spiritual living and the path to the complete cessation of suffering. We do not proceed on the same lines, but which we seek is the same thing. We may climb the mountain by different paths, but the view from the summit is identical for everyone. Here, the paths are different yogas. Gita gives a comprehensive yoga shastra, large, flexible, and many-sided, which includes various phases of our mental and spiritual development. Better indeed is the yoga of knowledge than the practice of concentration, or Raja Yoga. Better than knowledge is meditation. Better than meditation is to give up the desires of the result of work or karma yoga. And with that renunciation, one can reach to perfect peace. That is written in Gita. I think it is verse 12, and the chapter is 12 too. So the different yogas are special applications of our inner discipline, and everything related to that discipline is called yoga. To get a spiritual life, we need to start with purification of mind. What is the tool to purify the mind? First come Karma Yoga. But before going forward, before I talk about the 4 yogas, I like to elaborate the yoga from Patanjali, then Bhagavad Gita. So, in what is yoga? In Patanjali Yoga Sutra, it is said that yoga chitta vritti nirodha. That means controlling the tendency or whirlpool of mind. That already Gypsy, you were asking us, like, we cannot concentrate. That is the nature of our mind, and it happens with everyone. And that's why we need this yoga to control that tendency. It is always like our mind, it is always going or focusing outwards, jumping around from one thought to another. That's why it is called monkey mind, always jumping. Research says that the average person has 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. So many thoughts are going in our minds, and most of them are negative, because the tendency of the mind is to go always towards the negativity. Thinking about the future, thinking about our daily work, worrying about our, the most important thing, money, and etc., etc. What is not there in our mind? Always busy. Yoga helps to control all those thoughts. That's why it is said yoga means controlling the tendency or whirlpool of our mind. On the other hand, yoga has another meaning in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Yogaha karmashu kaushalam. That means yoga is the skill to work. Karmasu kaushalam. Kaushalam means the skill. Now, we may think we do know the skills, right? Whatever we are doing in daily life. But here, the skill is pointing towards the selfless act, not our daily work. Here comes Karma Yoga, or the yoga of action, the first step to spiritual life. Karma Yoga teaches how to perform a work being detached with its result. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. We all know this. This is the most famous verse from Gita. Gita is paradigm of action. It explains what a man ought to do with a spiritual destiny. Karma Yoga also shows how to convert work into a spiritual practice. There is the well-known view that we all are bound by karma or our work. And we are only saved by real knowledge, that Satchidananda Brahma, learning about the Brahma, knowing who we are. Every work, whether it is good or bad, produces its natural effect and involves embodiment in the world. Every work has its own ego behind it. And it becomes an obstacle to our joy or our happiness, which is called liberation. So, what could be the solution? We have to leave all work and go for renouncance? Actually, not. Gita has the solution of twofold purposes to help us to obtain pure joy and do work in the world. Both can go together. That is spirituality, and Karma Yoga is converting work into spiritual practice. To practice Karma Yoga, we need an evenness of mind. Samatyam. It is mentioned in Gita that Samatyam, the word, in second chapter of Gita, Shlok 48. So it is mentioned as Samatyam Yoga Uchate. Samatyam means self-mastery and evenness. It is conquest of anger, greed, pride, and going forward to compassion, love, kindness, devotion. Here, I really want to point out the ideal which the Gita sets before us is ahimsa, or non-violence.
Huh?
This looks really contradictory, right? Like while Krishna asked Arjuna to go for a war, where is the non-violence? This is evident from the description of the perfect state of mind, speech, and body. Krishna advises Arjuna to fight without passion or ill will, without anger or attachment. And if we develop such a frame of mind, violence becomes impossible. We must fight against what is wrong, what is happening bad with us. But if we allow ourselves to hate, that ensures our spiritual defeat. Though it is not possible to kill people in the state of serenity, but we can remove the anger or the violence from the mind. Sometimes it is said that maybe this war in Gita is taken as an illustration. So going back to the law of karma yoga, work must be without concern for the result. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. I already mentioned that. This famous verse contains the essential principle of detachment. When we do work, whatever it is, office or housework or painting or studying, singing, anything, we should be unattached with the result of that work. But how? All of our work must be the result of our nature. Our true nature is kind, being loving, or decent. To be unattached with the result of our work, we can take a step with the second way of spirituality, that is bhakti yoga, or the yoga of devotion. Spiritual life is not only doing karma, or if we are trying to go forward to our spiritual life, it is not that always we will help ourselves with karma yoga. So that's why when we get stuck with our problems with karma yoga, we can go forward to the other way of bhakti yoga, that is complete devotion, dedication, and love to the work without a single thought of result. So bhakti yoga, what I feel, it is not always that you have to have a believe in God, you have to have a devotion for God. But if you do not believe in God, if you are believing the human or humanity, then also you can go pursue for the bhakti yoga. And how that is? To love and devotion for your work. Whatever we are doing, we should be devoted that. And that's why we should not think about the result, the phalam. It removes how it works. It removes stress from our work because we are not thinking about the result. This yoga helps to purify the mind and heart. Whatever we are doing should be dedicated to a greater cause or to the divine. In Karma Yoga, we understood that work should be done without any desire of result. But it is really not an easy step to start. That's why it is said that offering all the results to the super cause or to the God. Work for a good cause where you will not gain anything but giving more. It also removes stress from your work, removes anxiety from your mind. Krishna said that if the work is dedicated to the one or divine, then one will never be touched by the result of the work. So whatever the result comes, if it is failure or gain, both sides, it will never touch the devotee. How to practice this yoga? We must empty ourselves of all desires and wait in trust for the Supreme Being. We must surrender to the divinity or to the God, whoever we have belief to, whatever it is, God, it is Christ, it is Krishna, it is Durga, it is Allah, whatever it is about to surrendering. So the stage you can feel practically if you have a baby right now, like me. I am having a 9 months old baby. So how it happens, how the surrendering works, a complete surrender, and doing a complete surrender and just go for the work. How? Like what a baby does. He runs around, he grabbing things, he screams, he fell down, everything, whatever is happening, the baby does not have any responsibility for the result, whatever she is doing. So babies that's why they are always happy, because they are not thinking about the future result. They are just doing their work. And this is the very simple but joyful living, the way of living. That is called devotion. Always surrender to the God. Not thinking, but devoting the responsibility of work to the Supreme. That's all. So this is how we can practice Bhakti Yoga. The third way to spirituality is Raja Yoga, or doing meditation. This practice helps to control the distraction of the mind. Every day, fixing a time for meditation or a conscious observation of the breathing. Because the breath is the most important thing in our life. That is the prana. So it helps to reach a state of focused mind. Focused mind is the key for any success, not only spiritual life, but also our daily life. If this spiritual condition does not arise spontaneously, we must take up the practice of concentration so that we may gradually fit ourselves for the devotion of the Spirit of God. So all the ways, they are supporting each other. If it is Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga or Raja Yoga, if I am not able to do Karma Yoga, I can take the Bhakti Yoga the other way, or I can take the way of Raja Yoga. The fourth way of spirituality, and that we have, it is knowledge, or the yoga of knowledge, or Jnana Yoga. A knowledge of true self or consciousness. This tradition of Jnana Yoga is from the Upanishadic era. It is not only, it is not started from Bhagavad Gita, but it started from the Veda and Upanishadic era, because it follows the path like Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Listening to the Guru's teaching, reflect on that knowledge within, and then meditate upon the knowledge. That's how it works. Through this way, one can achieve the ultimate reality of the self, or Brahma, that we are looking for. That is the Sat Chit Ananda. That is the answer of who we are. We are the true consciousness. We are the existence, consciousness, and bliss. This is to realize the oneness or non-duality. The idea is this ultimate reality, discovering true self, can be realized through knowledge or Jnana Yoga, because it is always with us. Only our ignorance that we could not realize it. So to get that knowledge, it is that we have to remove that ignorance. And that is the path of spirituality. And that is, we have the ways to reach to the knowledge. By following any of these 4 ways, bhakti, karma, raja yoga, or jnana yoga, with a pure mind, we actually can discover ourselves. We achieve freedom from suffering. What kind of suffering? Mostly the mental suffering, that sorrow, the anxiety, our stress, our daily sadness that we carry in our mind. We can achieve freedom from all of those. This is the goal of Bhagavad Gita, or the ultimate aim of spiritual quest. It is to hold out the knowledge of oneness, the knowledge of perfect joy and happiness. Since ignorance is the source of bondage, therefore, when the sense of difference is destroyed and actions do not bind, then the self, having attained wisdom, gets free from all the ignorance. Who can attain this stage of liberation through spiritual practices can be joyous, blissful person, being in this world too. Thank you for patiently listening to me, and thank you ICC to giving this platform and collaborating with my organization, Self Wellness Awareness. So before I end up my speech, I like to share that from Self Wellness Awareness, I am planning to have another event. Most probably it will be the June last week. I will in social media we will share everything, the date and link. So the event will be on trio, the 3 mothers, Ma Sarada, Sri Ma from Aravinda Ashram, and Anandamayi Ma. So we will look, I really request you to keep touch with us, so you will get to know the event, the date and the link, everything. We are looking forward to join and get together again. Thank you so
Looking
much.
forward to it.
Thank you so much, Haimanti. Thank you so much. That sounds absolutely fascinating. We look forward to that event. Now we welcome Preeti Luharia to our panel. Preeti is a pharmacist by profession. She is a follower of Jain religion and has the opportunity of being able to understand Jainism. She has done multiple types of fasting, including 3 days of fasting for 3 consecutive years called the Ratna Treya Tela, 8 days of continuous fasting known as the Ashtanika, 10 days of rigorous fasting during the holy 10 days of Das Lakshana Parva. Preeti is involved with the Gujarat Association and the TGIF in Ottawa. Other than that, she is actively involved with the Indian community of Brockville to help welcome newcomers to feel at home there, and with events and celebrations of different festivals at Brockville. She also contributes to making Brockville a better place by supporting the locals. Now we welcome Preeti.
A very good afternoon to all the dignitaries and the knowledgeable Mataji, Swamiji, and everyone. It is a great pleasure that I have been given this opportunity by India-Canada Consortium and the Self-Wellness Awareness Program to be a part of this program. I am a very newbie to this, and I do not have that much knowledge to share with everyone. But since Gypsy asked me, I was very encouraged to share a little bit of knowledge which I have with Jainism. Om is very important to us in Jainism with our Namokar mantra. I would like to recite the Namokar mantra, as that is what is the most important essence of Jainism. And the complete Namokar mantra gives us the essence of Om within it. So if I have the permission, I would like to recite that. So Namo Arihantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Vajjayanam, Namo Loe Savasaunam, Eso Panch Namokaro, Save Pava Panasano, Manglanam cha Save Singh, Paramam Havai Mangalam, Paramam Havai Mangalam. In Jainism, this is the most important mantra as mentioned by Mataji. And all of that comes to this. What are we saying in this? We are bowing ourselves to the Arihant, to the Siddh, to the Acharya, Upadhyay, and Sarvasadhu. There is no God as such in Jainism. We have Tirthankars who have followed the path of Jainism and reached the stage of moksha, nirvana, and eternal salvation. And every Jain has that capacity to reach that salvation. So in Jainism, everyone, it is considered that even a plant or a microorganism or an animal and a human being has the opportunity to reach that salvation. And that is the reason, if we look at the symbol of Jainism, it is called Paraspara Graho Jivanam, means let live others as well. Live and let live others. Means you should live in harmony with everyone else and obey non-violence, which is the most important principle of Jainism. To be non-violent in every aspect of life and attain spirituality through that. We are all Atma as per Jainism. Every body is a Atma, and that Atma has the capacity to reach Nirvana, to attain moksha. The reason we are not able to attain moksha or Nirvana is because of our karmic attachment, because of our karmas which we are doing every day, every minute, every second. So those karmas are attached to our body, not to our soul or not to our atma, but they're attached to our body, and that is leading us to misery. There are two kinds of karmas, bad karmas and good karmas. The bad karma is a chain of iron and the good karma is a chain of gold. Whatever it may be, but it does not allow us to leave this world. It allows us to stay in this world and continuous misery of rebirth and death again and again, whether it may be through you live a life of an animal, you live a life of a good person, you live a life of a vegetable, whatever it may be. Even when we are in the stage of Dev, it is still a path of misery. And that is the reason when Jainism thinks about spirituality, the most important goal we have is to attain nirvana, to attain moksha. And to do that, we need the three jewels of Jainism, which is Samyak Darshan, Samyak Gyan, and Samyak Charitra. Right knowledge, right wisdom, right path. Samyak Darshan means to understand first, then follow it accordingly. And that is the way to go forward. If we do not have Samyak Darshan, we cannot have Samyak Gyan and Samyak Charitra. There is no way around it. And that is where we have to make sure we understand that what is Samyak Darshan, what is Samyak Gyan, what is Samyak Charitra, the three jewels of Jainism which allow us to move forward. The most important principle of Jainism, which is the other principle, which is called Anekantvad. I have heard every spiritual leader today, and I'm happy to understand that. And that is where Anekantvad comes into picture. What is Anekantvad? Anekantvad is non-absolutism. Means when I say something, it cannot be the absolute truth at any point of time. There is always another aspect to it. There is many folded aspects to every viewpoint, to whoever says something. If something is being seen by you, maybe you have the truth which you have seen it, but there could be something else which is also a part of it which you do not know. And that is where it is anekantvad. Anekant means a lot, multiple. Vad means different aspects of it, different views of it. And that is the most important aspect of Anekantvad, which allows Jains to be extremely tolerant to everybody. We understand and we like to live in coherence with everybody, to be tolerant to everybody, and allow everybody to stay and live in peace and harmony. And I would not like to take a lot of time at this point because we have extended ourselves quite a bit. And that is where I would like to end myself right here. If anybody has any questions, I'm willing to answer. But Jainism is a way of life. Jainism is a way of living. It is not just a religion. Jainism means to conquer yourself to become a Jain, following the path of Mahavir Bhagwan and taking the teachings together every day. Jai Jinendra. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, all the speakers. It has been a delight for me. I couldn't have started my day in a better way, in any other way, rather.
So thank you everyone once again, thank you very much. Let's end the meeting here and we'll come back soon, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.